What's
Chris,
happening?
dude, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
Good, great. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast and chatting with me, man. I'm super excited
Hey,
about
no,
this.
thank you for having me. First time, so
First, there's a first
Yeah.
time for everything.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, man. So I came across your Instagram. I think John Stairs, the wonderful John Stairs.
Yeah.
I did a podcast with him. We were talking. He's like, "Man, you really got to get my buddy Chris on. He's got this super sick Mark II," and he was sending me pictures. I was like, "I am definitely going to talk with that guy."
Yeah. No, I've known John for geez, like 10, 12 years now easily, and he always wanted the Mark II, and then last year I ended up getting one and did what he did.
Yeah, that thing's sick too. I really like his Mark II.
Yeah.
I like Mark IIs in general. I had a VR
Right. Yeah.
I had a VR swapped one not too long ago, and I made the mistake of selling it.
Yeah. I had one. Well, I've had a couple of them, but there was one that I did with a VR Mark II and got away from me. Should never have left.
Didn't that one behind you have a VR in it before?
Uh, yeah. It was a 1ET VR backdoor 1ET.
Oh, nice. We'll get into that. We'll get all the
Yeah.
deets into that.
Perfect.
So, Chris Reis, did I pronounced your last name right?
You did.
Ah, nice. I always get names wrong. I'm like horrible
Yeah,
with names.
it's a lot of people do say rice, but you just say hey to Reese, and they oh I get it.
All right, dude. Well, I like to start these things out to kind of like just to get to know your Volkswagen history. So, what even got you into Volkswagens to begin with?
Well, for me, it's I guess a little different. My grandfather started a Volkswagen Audi dealership back in '81,
Oh,
so I've been around him since then. Realistically, I was born in '86. My mom, since my grandfather retired in 2000, my mom and uncle took over. They've been there since, and I've been working there since I was able to drive. And then
rad.
worked my way up from there and stuff like that. I work in parts now, but I started off even just washing cars and everything like that when I was younger.
That's rad. So, your whole working career has been at a Volkswagen dealership.
Pretty much, yeah, yeah. Right
That's
before that, I worked
awesome.
at a hobby shop, but that was for about a year before I could even drive. Yeah,
There's
for
got to be
yourself.
some. So I'm gonna take it that you've probably had a ton of different Volkswagens or opportunities to get into cool cars.
Yeah, believe it or not, this is actually my first car.
Whoa,
So I got this actually from the original owner. So I've had it for 19 years next month,
dude, that's awesome. I love
and it
hearing
was
those stories.
and it was bone stock. It had nothing even done to it. And then it just evolved from there. At least it started as a 16 valve. That's what I wanted, and then it moved on from there.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, working at the dealership. So that was your first car? Is that what you said?
Yeah, this was mine. Yep,
Dude, that's crazy. So when you got that, how old were you?
16.
16. So driving
Yep.
age, Mark II
Yeah,
16
yeah.
valve
I
shows
had
up.
my permit when I got it. I didn't even have my driver's license yet. So it was one of those, and then it said, "All right, time to start going. What can I do to it?"
Dude,
So
that's
it was always the first thing. Put an exhaust on it. Put a Tectonics exhaust on it.
nice.
Switch keys, the airbox. It's all the stupid stuff. Because you couldn't afford anything.
Right. Nah, kids, that's how kids mod cars. That's awesome. So with that, and working at the dealership, did you get into any other like cars along the way?
As far as what other Volkswagens or just
Yeah.
other?
Yeah, like other Volkswagens.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've had. I mean, I did have a Rabbit for a little while, and I said, nah, it's not for me.
Hmm.
Always went back to Mark IIs and stuff like that. So usually at any given time, I usually had two Mark IIs. One that I said, oh, I love this thing, I'm gonna keep it forever, never get rid of it, and then it disappears, goes to a friend, or I sell it, or then I get something else and whatnot. But I did have a Mark IV 20th for about a year, but
Is that the
then I
one
got rid of
John?
it my first so. But
Is that the one John has now?
what's that?
The 20th?
Oh no, that's another friend. That's Troy. That's one of his friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know how that
Yeah.
is, like the car swapping between the homies. You
Yeah,
know,
I know, right?
it's kind of cool though,
Yeah.
cause like I've had a ton of, I've owned probably like 30 Volkswagens air cooleds, and I feel like I get friends into it, and then I'll sell them one of my cars, and then it's like
Yeah,
nice that the scene around me's growing.
yeah, and even my wife says she'll even say sometimes she goes, oh well, here's another car, or oh, you're just gonna be working on this too, and stuff. I'm like, "That's not right." It's something that's fun to me,
Yeah,
you
dude, I
know.
like that. I like getting into a project and then selling it to a buddy and still seeing it around and then seeing all the stuff they do to it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, and usually it's better. Usually it's for the better.
Yeah.
Usually, I try to pick who I sell some stuff to and say, well, hopefully it stays good, or
Yeah.
I saw that coming, you know. But even my wife, she's got a 91 Jetta Coupe that, you know,
Nice.
about three and a half years ago, I got it. I had actually a local high school paint it, you know,
Oh,
factory
rad.
coated, and put a crossflow in it, nice and easy. Got heat, power steering. She drives it, you know, drives that once or twice a week still.
That's
And
awesome.
so she wanted to put, actually, I have the VR6 Firmness in my shed with a transmission on the subframe and cross member radiator and everything that I could just put it in. Bolt it in and go.
Dude,
But I said, no. Let's leave a crossflow. It's going to be a lot more fun for her, and I don't have to turn wrenches on it as much.
oh, that's awesome, man. Dude, so you just all are Volkswagen's in the blood with you, man.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. Even in my driveway, I just finished up a friend that I work with, Joe. He's got a 91 Jetta. Just put a crossflow in that 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
So
That's
he's gonna
awesome.
finish that up tomorrow. So
Those ABA swaps are awesome. They're just
they should have came with them.
yeah,
You
I
know?
do. They're reliable. They're easy to swap in. They're fun little motors. I love
Can't
ABA
kill 'em.
swaps.
Yeah, can't kill them.
Yeah. I want to hear some. I want to hear some dealership stories, dude.
I mean, for me, I mean, a lot of it is just, you know, usually back, you know, earlier and stuff like that, I had a good group of guys, you know, guys would just, you know, you had some of the old timers that all they do is complain and complain and complain, you know,
Yeah.
as the technician and stuff like that, and it's never going to be anything but that, but you do learn a lot of little tricks from them that you don't learn now on some of these cars, you know, because now it's, you know, all computers, there's really no wrenches involved as much as it used to be. So now I'm not good with the computers like I was telling you earlier and stuff like that. I'm like, guys, no, that's all gibberish to me. I can fix it mechanically, but the rest of it, I need your help, you know?
Did you when you I know you probably started like you said washing cars and doing that stuff. So did you like kind of do a full tour of duty type of thing where you kind of started maybe washing cars and stuff when you were younger, just kind of cutting your teeth, and then did you do like you said you're in parts now, but did you go through and I mean were you a technician? Did you do any sales, stuff like that? You've probably done
Right,
everything.
yeah. So even in the summer when I was younger, like 10, 11 years old, my mom used to make me go to work and wash cars. Even at that point, go wash the new cars out in the line, get them cleaned
Nice.
up. So it's like I remember blisters on my hands and stuff like that. Going, these cars are hot, you know. It's middle of summer, black cars. You're sitting there washing them and stuff like that outside. And then when I got my driver's license, I started working there, and I went to vocational anyways for high school. So for me, working on cars, that's what I wanted to do. So I did that for about 3.5, 4 years, and then I moved up to service, and I was doing dispatching and warranty work and everything like that with all the paperwork in, because I said, well, if eventually I move up, I'm going to keep, you know, needing to learn all the different, you know, departments and everything. Good place to start is that. I know the cars, I know the mechanical end of it. Now let me see the, you know, the paperwork end
All
of
the
it.
all the front end stuff.
Right, between the warranty and customer pay work and stuff like that. And, you know, I did some service advisor work and whatnot. Then about 9 or 10 years ago, I went into parts. You know, and I like it there. I have a really good wholesale, you know, with all my wholesale customers and even just retail customers that are pretty good and whatnot. So I like that aspect of it because I like helping people on the phone with telling them, you know, if somebody calls up and says, hey, I'm looking for this, and I can kind of go, sure you need that because I think you need this. And they're like, well, yeah. I said, well, I don't mind selling it to you, but you're going to be mad when I can't take it.
I
You know?
love a knowledgeable parts guy, dude. Knowledgeable
Yeah, and I
parts
mean-
guys are the best. You have some guys who just like they look up part numbers like whatever, here you go, and you're like, dang, this is the wrong part.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But even in my department, I mean, most of us have gotten. The guy who I work next to, I've known since I was in kindergarten, so 5 years old, and he started there about 7 years ago. You know, and another guy, he was a Mark II guy and stuff like that. He's moved on. He does other stuff now, but I mean, it all comes back.
That's awesome. How being in that situation, how supportive is your parts department with like aftermarket stuff?
We don't do a lot, really, especially the area we're in. I mean, it's not really, there's not a lot of people doing, well, there is, but there isn't, you know, but we do some stuff with ECS tuning and stuff like that as well, but we don't really advertise any of that and everything and whatnot. But if people do call looking for stuff, we can say, hey, go here, try this, that, you know, we're all about that and stuff. And even people coming in to get their car service, a lot of times they're worried. You know, hey, I got some stuff done to my car. I'm worried about if it's going to void a warranty, this and that. And I usually tell people, I say, hey, you know, if you bring the car in and you're a halfway decent person and you're not a jerk and you're not whining for it, I can usually make something. We could make something happen. You know, you're not kicking and screaming when we could say, hey, you know, you got a bunch of stuff done to the car. Too bad.
Yeah, or they bring you a complete hack job.
Well, you've
You
seen
know,
that. You've seen some of the,
I want to hear about that.
just, some people, wiring, they come in, oh, my
Hmm.
buddy can do this and that and everything. And they come in, it's like, what is this? You got household wire nuts holding stuff. I'm like, guys, you can't do that.
It's
You know?
stock, dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's, yeah, you look, it's like, well, the sway bar's cut out of it, frame's notched. It's like, no, this isn't. But most of the people are pretty good, and I mean we have a pretty good range of age. Even we got kids
Hmm.
that are 16, we got some guys that are like 50 still doing it. So it's
No, yeah.
it's pretty it's pretty cool to see that even the generation gap, they're still into the same stuff. I could
Hmm.
talk to a 16-year-old kid about a Mark II, and then a 50-year-old guy about a Mark II, and they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So I love it. I do love it. Especially around here, it seemed like '04, '05, it started getting more popular and more popular. Because when I was in high school, everybody's like, "Oh, you like Volkswagens?"
Hmm. Same.
Like,
Same.
I was like one of the only guys, and then a couple of the friends, like you were saying, got into them. Hey, man, you gotta get one. They see you as or something like that, and then they're
Hmm.
like, all right, all right. And next thing you get like three or four or five, and it
Yeah.
grows. So, which is pretty cool. And I still have friends that I see from high school time. They go, oh, you still have the GTI? Yeah, it's never going. It's never going anywhere.
Dude, that is
You know.
so awesome. I absolutely love hearing stories about people who get their first car that's a Volkswagen and like a legit, like a Mark II GTI, and they still have it like 20 years later.
Right,
That's
and,
like,
and I have a couple of friends like that too, and they're like, they've toyed with the idea. Oh, I don't really do anything with it anymore. I'm like, don't get rid of it.
yeah,
Don't get rid of it. You're gonna regret it.
yeah.
So,
Man,
but I mean,
that is so awesome. I want to dig into that Mark II, but I want to save that for a little bit because there's a ton of work gone into that car, and I want to ask about like the PVW features and like all that stuff, how all that got lined out. But I'm still like excited about like dealership stories because I used to have buddies that like worked at dealerships. And we would just like hang out there, we'd just like show up, and I'd have buddies that are technicians, and we're like hanging out there, and they're fixing cars, and we're trying to soak up whatever knowledge we could. And there's always like the old timer guy there who worked on like the older stuff. And
right. And they're starting to become far and few apart because I mean they're getting old and retiring.
Yeah.
We have one guy that is out right now at work, but he's been there since I remember even then he goes, I remember holding you when you were a baby and stuff like
Dude.
that. He's like, oh great, he goes, and I remember dropping you too. I'm like, oh thanks. I'm like, cool, thanks, and stuff. But even some of the old times that work there, that we have a guy that left about 6 years ago. He opened a shop with his son and everything, and he's known me again since I was born, pretty much. And
Wow.
his son's about my age, and I still try to stay in touch with him. We usually go out to dinner like once a month. We usually try to catch up, but. Yeah, as far as like fun stories, I mean, there's just weird stuff, with either customers coming in with weird stuff in their car and whatnot over the time, or just crazy customers even calling you. It's like, what's wrong? I remember we had a customer call even this was years ago and said, I think there's something wrong with my car and it's got some smoke. They're like, well, what kind of smoke? Well, I think it's on fire. He goes, well, on fire? Or like,
Thank you so
and all you can hear in the background, and he put the person on speakerphone, and you hear a fire truck. He goes, "Oh, it's on." Well, step away from the car first off, And it's like, come on, you calling me? I think you should be calling a couple other people.
calling you to troubleshoot the problem. Hey, guy. Yeah, I think I got a car on fire. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There's some smoke
And
coming out of it.
Well, I remember even with the Mark IVs when they used to have the window clip problems, window clips breaking. I remember a customer called, actually the same guy, and was like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, the window fell off the track and startled me, and I crashed my car. What are you going to do about it?" It's like, what do you mean? It's like, just some of the people.
Is this covered under warranty? I wrecked my car because I was startled.
Yeah. Can you cover the warranty work that I crashed my car into everything? Yeah. No. But
Did anyone ever
yeah.
call you and be like, the inside of my Mark IV smells like crayons for some reason?
It used to happen here and there, and we still joke about that. I got a couple friends that have it. And we're like, I wonder why.
That's hilarious.
I don't know
That's
what
the
they did.
mystery.
is.
I've seen so many, like even back in the old Vortex days, on so many like, people be like, oh, it's the adhesive stuff that they use, or it's the plastic, or it's this, or it's that.
Right. Yeah.
Excellent.
No, it's a mystery still. It's a mystery.
The crayon mystery.
Yeah. Wait until it fades away and people want that. And they're like, can you put that in the car? No.
Yeah. No, someone was making air fresheners someone was making air fresheners, and they had it in a Mark IV. And dude, I'm trying to remember this, but they had it hanging in a Mark IV, and it said like, "Get rid of that crayon smell." And then I posted, I was like, "That air freshener should smell like crayons.
Yeah, right.
We need that."
That should be a given with one of those things.
Exactly. We should do that. I want to make some fuck yeah Volkswagen
Crayon scented.
crayon scented air fresheners to hang from your rearview mirror. I'm gonna write that one down. Do you ever have any do you have any stories of like people bringing in like awesome cars to trade in or anything like that? Like Mark IIs, Rabbits? Do you see any of that stuff?
Well, this was actually a trade-in at work,
Nice.
and so we still know the person who traded it in. He's had a few other cars since then, and so we still see him. And he actually has a 2015 Tornado Red GTI now that he has that has like
Nice.
7,000 miles on it, and it just sits in the garage like covered up. And this guy was anal about how the car was. Like this car came with like 4 sets of floor mats.
Wow.
It was nuts. It had like the coconut original floor mats in it still and everything. I'm like, oh my god, you know. So
That's nuts. Let's
so
talk-
that we used to have a little old lady, and her name was Rita. I was actually just talking to my wife about her today and stuff. It was a '91 Corrado G60 automatic she had,
Oh.
and back in the '90s, my grandfather always used to have demos, and that was my grandmother's demo. It was like a purplish colored black leather automatic G60. So it's like the worst thing combination. You put together. And this little old lady, beehive hair, you know, and stuff like that. Since my grandmother had it as a demo and whatnot, and I, you know, she never traded it in and stuff like that. But I used to go drive, pick it up at her house, bring it back, you know, do the nice thing, fix it up, and whatever it needed, it got. The car was pristine, you know. So you drop it up, pull it in the garage, wipe it down for her, full of smiles. You know, 87-year-old lady, happy as can be, you know.
And she's cruising
Stuff like
around a
that.
G60?
Yeah, G60.
Dude, that is-
And it had a switcher knob on it too and stuff like that.
Dude, how rad would it be to be like just driving in traffic? You're like, oh, check out that Corrado, and you pull up and it's like an 80-year-old lady.
Right, yeah. It's like, and yeah, it was really cool. I mean, she was super nice, always nice. I mean, I think since then she was maybe in a nursing home now because she's older and stuff.
Oh, man.
But you know, it happens. But she loved that car.
Do you know what
She actually-
happened to it? Do you know what happened to the Corrado?
Yeah, it got. It's a touchy subject, you know. It was one of those things. It probably I was supposed to be told about it when it came up either for sale or something like that, and it kind of didn't happen.
Aw.
And then I found that out, and then I found out the person who actually did get it was then selling it on Facebook. I contacted them. I said, I got the money. What do you want?
Yep.
Told me how much. I said, cool, I'll be there in a couple of days. And then it just didn't feel right. It didn't go down the way kind of how I foresaw it happening.
Yeah.
You know, I was hoping she was going to contact me and say, hey, it's time for me to move on. I want you to have it. You've always taken care of it. You know, so I kind of let it go. But it's still, it's always in the back of my head. You know, again, another one of those, the ones that got away.
Yeah. Is it
And I
still
wouldn't have done it.
local? It's still local?
I
Or
don't
do you...
Last I knew was a couple towns up, but this was about 3 years ago now.
Okay.
And it's like this car was, the body was, as far as structurally sound, it had you know, little dings and dents. It was driven, you know. So she used to drive from where we are. We live near Foxwoods Casino, about an hour and a half. She used to drive it down there, get it valeted, and all the valet.
That's so...
You selling it? You selling it? You selling it?
Man, someone needed to find this lady and follow her around with a camera for a day. Just
Oh, she said it used to happen. People used to pull into the like grocery stores and say, "Hey, you selling this?" She goes, "No," you know.
Dude, I would flip out if I literally saw my grandma hopping out of a Corrado, like getting groceries, going to a casino.
Yeah. Exactly.
I would flip out if I saw literally my grandma jump out of a Corrado to like valet park it at a casino. I would like be pinching myself. Like, is this real life right now?
Yeah, and she even had a matching walker that you used to put in the back. Like she didn't get fancy gas, so she had like a matching walker. You just put it.
Did it have like BBS RS wheels on it on the
It
walker?
had the BBSs. They were very square though. I mean, she did hit some potholes, but surprisingly, that car went really smooth. Drove it down the road, 60, 70. You didn't know that thing had square wheels.
Man. So when that all didn't happen to where you were kind of contacted by it, you got a hold of the seller. Did you go look at it at that point to buy it, or did it just kind of fall apart? One of those things.
I didn't need to because it was only about months later. It was months from when I heard it happened and everything. So
gotcha.
I already knew the condition of the car. I knew anything and everything on it. You know, so. But like I said, it was just one of those. It just didn't sit right after. You know, I planned on getting the car, keeping the car stock, maybe just fixing, some of the curb rash on the wheels straight and the wheels, putting, maintenance into it, which it didn't need anything. I picked it up, twice a year we did an oil change just because, she wanted to keep it fresh and everything. But no, I would have even kept the automatic. I would have just kept it,
Dang,
that was
dude.
it. Just to kind of keep it as part of like, hey, this is a rare bird right here,
No, that's
G60
that,
automatic still shifts okay, still boosts,
still boost hasn't blown up yet.
Nope. And as far as I know, I think that still had. We might have done something with the supercharger.
Rebuilt the charger.
It might have been just the original one.
Dang, dude. Do you remember how many miles were on that thing? Well, last time
I think it had just over 100 and something. Because the only thing that did die is the odometer stopped working.
Ah.
So I mean, towards the end, I think she drove maybe 1,000 miles a year, if that.
Dude.
To and from the grocery stores, hairdressers. That's it.
That's crazy. See, those are the stories I love. I knew I was gonna pull something juicy out of you. I just love those types of stories, man. That's so crazy. And I really, that would have been great if you ended up with it.
Oh, trust me, it would. That one, like I said, the ones that get away, that wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
That would just stay, and I would, do what I needed to with it, figure out where I was going to keep it, and just keep it clean and just maintain it. I'm sure my wife wouldn't like it, but we got enough as is. We got like 5 cars right now, So.
What do you have right now? What's in your stable?
Well, so I got the GTI. My wife has a Tiguan. I have a GMC pickup.
Nice.
I got the coupe is so the Tiguan coupe is hers, but it's ours or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
An '85 Oldsmobile Cutlass with an LS turbo in it.
Nice.
That's a little different.
Wow.
So that
sounds gangster.
I wanted to try something a little different, and I said, okay, let's try this. And so far, so good.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I wish this wasn't a Volkswagen podcast. We'd dig into that thing.
That could be for a later date then.
Well, let's talk about that Mark II behind you, because that thing's beautiful. So you got it. That was your first car. You got it when you were 16, and you kind of did 16-year-old mods to it at first.
Right. So that's what happened. Like I said, start with the exhaust, Swiss cheese the airbox, and being an 88, it even had I had that old Autotech fuel enrichment thing that you would hook up to it, and just fun stuff. And I wish I still had some of this stuff because it's just cool to have, regardless if it worked or not. And it was a small bumper, arrow headlights, and I'm like, I really wanted a big bumper, quad mount. And truthfully, I wish I was black when I wanted the black 16 valve GTI. And it was a red 16 valve 88 with small bumps. I'm like, well, okay, good starting point,
Yeah.
16 years, I didn't know what the heck I was going to buy. I used to pick up the WAN ads when I worked at a mall. Every Monday I'd go in there and I'd call some of them and say, hey, that's how, back in the day you'd look for a car, WAN ads.
Yeah, no, for sure. I remember
I'm glad all of them fell through that I was calling on and looking up because this is perfect, that's how it started. And then, my cousin Ben had a 91 GTI that he wasn't driving. I robbed the big bumpers off that years ago, and I said, all right, well, he's like, I'm not doing anything with it. I said, can I have the bumpers? He says, come up, take them off, and here you go.
Nice.
So swapped at the big bumpers, and then that first Christmas, my parents asked what I wanted for Christmas. I ended up getting a Bonrath single round conversion, new you could for back then $200 with the lights, grill, radio support.
Dude, that's a deal.
And now it's like, I don't have that grill anymore. That'd be sweet to have. And stuff, some of those things that I then took for granted and said, I'll never do anything here.
Was there ever a point with that car where it kind of got to a point where you didn't really do anything for an extended amount of time, and then you just went ham on it again? Because it was a 16 valve, and then so what happened with the first 1.8T swap? What year was that, and kind of how did that all work out?
So I got the car, it was in 02. It was like July of 02. Got my driver's license in December of that year. Already had a 16 valve 2-liter at work that I was going to say, okay, let's build an all motor. Back then, there was no turbocharged stuff for me really or anything. So started with, got a 9.8 out of like Passat. Back then you can get them on junkyards, $200 or whatever. Got one of those. Pulled it apart, did put bigger pistons in it. I got I think it was 83.5 millimeter pistons you would put back in the day. Put it in polished ahead, tectonics cams, valve springs, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Put it together, threw it in that summer. Car ripped, screamed, 7,000, 8,000 RPM.
Yes.
Loved it. Would do it. And then that was into my senior year. So that'd be like 04 when I had that, that summer. Then I looked underneath the car and I said, the floors were bad. They were the normal crunchy, and I said, all right. So that winter, I pulled it off the road. I got a truck, patched the panels as I could, as a 17, 18-year-old kid could, at the time, and threw it back together and said, well, the hell with it, let's just run it. And then let's see, '04 was my first Waterfest win with a bunch of people. I had a great time. Saw some of the cars. Wow, especially Mark IIs. Then it was like, I've never seen it at that time. Never saw an R swapped, a 3.2 in it or a 24 valve. Really no 180 stuff around here at that time. And then I said, I think I want to do a 180. I said, it seems right. I looked into doing like a 16 valve on ITBs, and the price, I was like, the gain out of it. I said, well, let me look into it. A 98 Pasaka traded into work, 180 stick. And it was an old beat up car that was just gonna be wholesale. They said, hey, I'm interested. Actual look at runs. It did. I said, well, I think I know what I'm doing. And then one thing led to another. I said, okay, look, I'm gonna try to leave it as the stock turbo. The back engine mount, hits and stuff like that. The turbo as well. Then that's not gonna work. So I ended up getting a log manifold on. I don't even remember his name on Vortex. I might have, couldn't even tell you. It was a forced induction back in '05, maybe at that point. T3, T4. I was like, screw it. The small turbo doesn't fit. Let's put a big one in a different spot, So I did a log manifold and all that stuff. And I think started right after that Waterfest in '05. I picked up some stuff down there and had it running by like November or so. And then sat for the winter. And then springtime came and started driving it and had a blast,
That's awesome, dude. At Waterfest, they had drags, right?
Yeah.
Being from the West Coast, we only got like all of the, like the media coverage stuff for it. So like you'd see the posts on Vortex and stuff. We'd always like on the West Coast, you'd be like, oh, Waterfest is going on. We're gonna have some cool stuff to look at pretty soon here. Because the East Coast, you guys are like kind of pushing the whole scene in the United States around that time. Like everyone else was kind of playing catch up with you guys, as far as the U.S. is concerned.
That's what it seemed like. Because when I was 16 to 17, it didn't seem like that. It seemed really slow, and then all of a sudden, it just like something clicked, and after that first Waterfest in '04, it was like everything was just showing up everywhere around here. I'm like, holy cow, this is getting serious. And like, shows popped up, get-togethers, and everything, and whatnot. And then I was like, wow, this is cool. So it was like for 7 years straight, I went with a couple of buddies to Waterfest. That was the thing. That was our vacation. Load up the car, get a hotel, have some fun, and stuff like that. And it was great,
Did you ever drag the Mark II? Did you ever put down times or laps on that thing? See what it did?
Back in the day, right when I did the 180 swap, I didn't ship it. I just put it was the turbo that's in it, but it was stock injected, stock tune and everything. It only went 14.1, but it was at 103 miles an hour. So I had a mile an hour, but it was only 8 pounds of boost. So, and then after I did the 180, I pulled it apart. I did the bay. I had a good body shop do paint the whole car pretty much, paint the whole outside, did the bay and everything like that. And on that, when I was getting the body work, I sent the ECU out, got injectors and everything, put it back together. And then that was me turning 21, 21, right around there. Yeah. And got it back together. And then that spring, dynoed it and made, I think it made 308 horse at 20 pounds, which
I'll take that.
2006.
I'll take that today.
Yeah, that's not bad for that's a stock AEB, nothing done to it. And I said, okay, that's pretty realistic. Okay, I was happy with that. I wanted to shoot for 300, and it did it really easily. I was like pretty shocked by it.
That's awesome.
And it's still together. It's still the engine that's in it. So
wow, dude, that's crazy. Did you put down any times with that new setup?
No, never made it back up there. But it was a bit different. You know?
Dude, that's awesome. So that original 180 swap, a ton of work into that. How did the VR come about?
I don't know. It was just one of those things that I had a black Mark II that I did that I sold to get away, and then I think before I put that in, I think I had another Mark II VR that I never drove or anything, and I said, well, I got to get something, and I swapped it. I think I wanted to get rid of. Okay, it goes fast. Let me just get a VR, nice and clean and simple. It'll look nice in there, and that's what happened. And I just wasn't happy with it, afterwards, I did love it. I did, don't get me wrong, but, then I said, yeah, maybe I'll turbocharge it or something. And then I said, well, in my shed, I'm like, I still have the 180. Let me just pop that back in it.
When
And
you had,
that's,
I saw pictures when you had the VR in it. It looked pretty sick though, because you had like the color matched intake manifold and all that. It was a 12 valve, right?
yep.
A 12 valve. Yeah, that thing's
Yeah, and
awesome.
it's actually it's a pretty fresh engine actually, and that engine was actually donated to me by my old roommate because he bought a new car, and I always helped him out. He said, "You could just have it." He goes, "With the only thing is you can never sell it, and if you do, I just get it back." So,
Is
so
that
it's
is
like
that still the deal?
yeah, yeah. You know what? We were talking about it over dinner like maybe about a month or two ago, and he even said to me, he goes, "You know, you can't get rid of that engine." I said, I know. It's don't worry. It's just in storage whenever you do something, or it goes into something else I get.
It's bolted to
So
a subframe right now, just waiting for an
yeah,
owner.
or you can put it in a lawnmower
Dude,
if you want.
that Corrado pops up out of nowhere. There you go.
Yeah, I know, right? You're ready to go, the harness and everything. Just plug it in and go. You know, down the road.
That'd be so
So
sick. So the VR went in. It made great noises because you can't beat a VR6
right.
exhaust. But as far as like everything else, it just wasn't as
Yeah.
spicy as a 180.
Right, and then it's like I said, I thought about turbocharging it. I actually even had a friend that had a supercharger kit for it for sale. I said, hey, can I borrow it? And I just want to bolt it on the head and just see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I put it on and I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's cool, but no. And then that's when I said, you know what? I think I just need to put the 180 back in it. That's where I need to go back to, and that's just where it is. And who knows? I even contemplated putting a 2.5 in it. I thought
Ooh.
that I see the kit now from what is it, Fabulous.
Yeah.
I said, man, that's really cool.
That would be a great motor. I was always throwing that up. I have two Mark Ones, and I was always throwing that up. I was like, man, that would be an awesome swap in a Mark One.
Yeah.
You know?
And the engines are cheap.
Yeah.
They're cheap from the junkyard. There's millions of them out there. So
Super
and they're good
cheap.
engines. Do
Do
nothing
they
goes
take
wrong with
boost
it.
very well? I always like all the research I did was like kind of yes or no, depending.
I say
guess
try
that's
it.
yeah. I guess
Engine goes, hey, engine pop another one in and go.
blow it up and then try again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome, dude. So, how did the PVW feature come about?
So there was two of them. The
Two.
first one when when I just finished it with the 180 after it got painted. I wasn't even 21. Just finished up. I was 20 years old. I went to.
Rad.
There used to be a shop, Yarosport in Providence, which from
I
us.
remember Eurosport.
Okay.
Yeah.
It used to be the primer he used to do at the shop.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Louis Ribello had an 83 Rabbit on, I think it was like motorcycle carburetors or something like that, or something on Megasport even, so it's going back, and I said, hey, let's cruise up together. We live close to each other. So we cruised up, we parked next to each other. I was hanging out with some friends and he comes over, he goes, hey. I'm like, what's up? He goes, how much time do you have today? I said, well, yeah, we've got nothing going on. You know why? He goes, oh, because Elliot was there, and he goes, they want to shoot my car and your car together because we're friends. And I'm like, oh, geez, yeah, sure, yeah, no, let's do that. So they're like, all right, we'll be back in a little bit. We're gonna go find some spots and everything like that. So we waited around. The show was still going on. We left to go meet. We went to follow them. I get on the highway. My throttle cable breaks.
Oh no
Like,
way!
as we see them pulling away, I'm like, oh no. I'm like, oh, hey. Which are my lights? They pull over. They're like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I'll figure something out. I found some like electrical connector under the dash that was not used. I said, I'm gonna tie this thing around the throttle body and to the pedal and make it go.
Yes.
If you look in the photo shoot at the engine bay, you can see like a white and red wire going into the fucking. I'm like, all right, it'll work,
You should have been like, don't take a picture of that. You got to get an angle where you can't see it.
Right, yeah, and then the best thing is even said like on the way to this, the throttle cable broke so you could see it. I'm like, oh man, yeah. But hey, made it happen. I would have pushed it there. It seemed like it was a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
It was something new to me. I was like, okay, let's do this. I've seen the magazine plenty of times, but I never thought that would be something I would be thought about. Even being in.
That's a big deal, man. That's super awesome. I need to. You gotta let me know what issue that is, and I'll see if I can do some research to
That
find
one.
it.
2000. It would have been in 2000. I could probably find one. I'll message you later on and whatnot. Honestly, geez, that was 07.
How long after they did that first shoot did it actually show up in the magazine? Did it take a decent amount of time, or?
It was like I think it was like April, May when they shot the car, and I want to say it came out like a year later. That's how I don't know if they were backed up, but
Yeah.
cars and stuff like that, but it showed up like it was like April, May of the following year.
Nice.
So it
Did
was
you?
about a year, and I remember going, "Oh, this is cool." And then somebody sent me a picture and said, "Hey, check this out," and goes to the subscribers page, and there's my car and my friends too. I'm like,
Sick.
"Wow, cool!
Yes.
This is going well, you know?"
I was gonna say no one from PVW got a hold of you, be like, all right, man, your episode's gonna be this month or anything like that. It just kind of showed up.
Right. No. I think my friend Louis kept in touch with them a little bit more than I did,
Hmm.
and I was like, cool. I was just waiting, you know.
Did they
Every
at least
month
send you a copy? Or did you have to go search for one and
I went and
snag it?
searched and got a few of them and stuff like that,
When
and
you,
whatnot. Yeah.
I had a buddy whose Mark IV was featured in PVW, and I used to have a subscription for like a very short amount of time, but it was like, you know, in the States the subscriptions were freaking, I mean,
Yeah.
dude, it was like a lot of money. So we had this like coffee shop slash bookstore. It was pretty big, called Barnes and Nobles, and they were like the only ones that you could get like a PVW from. And so we would have to like search the Barnes and Nobles. But I had a buddy who had a Mark IV GTI that was featured, and we went to Barnes and Noble. And I think they had like 6 or 7 copies, and he like took them all off the shelf. He's like, these are
I
all
think
my.
that's who has them where we were, and they would get like 13 copies. I think I got like 8 or 10. People were like, "Dude, we wanted them." I'm like, "Well, I have friends I want to give them to, you know."
Yeah.
You know, they're close to me. I said, "This is a big, you know, not. It's a big deal for me at the time." I was like, "Hey, this is pretty cool, man.
This is
Here's,
mine.
you know, people that helped me throughout the years on the car. Hey, man, thanks, you know, and gave them out and stuff like that.
Dude, that's so
Good and
awesome.
everything. But yeah, I remember that. That was one thing that people were like, "Oh, that sucks. I can't get one." I'm like, "Sorry, man. I'll show you mine." I don't know. You know,
Go to the next town over, dude, and get one.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I know that was a thing too. Like we would try to figure out when they would show up at the specific Barnes and Noble that was close to us that we would go to, and sometimes it'd be like 2 or 3 months. I'd even go up to the clerk dude and be like, "Where's the PVW?" And he'd be like, "What are you PV what?" I'm like, "Performance VW magazine. Like I haven't seen it here in like 3 months. What's going on?" And he's like, "I don't know, dude."
They show up, I guess, right?
I'd be like 3
Yeah.
issues behind, like, "What's going on?"
And then I think finally, when I got my subscription, I think my mom would get it for me for my birthday every year.
Nice.
So it's like, all right, at least I got it. And it's been years since I got it and whatnot. And
Yeah,
I
same
never
here.
forgot. Yeah,
I had it on
get
digital for a while. And
Yeah.
then I something happened with my phone. I lost my phone or something happened, and then I couldn't get it like linked back up again. I was like, no, I paid for that, but I need to jump. I need to jump back on it. Oh, what was I gonna ask you? I was gonna say, when they were shooting the car, was it like when they were looking for spots? Was it like a specific spot shoot that they wanted to do? Because there's 2 of your cars, right? Or was
Yeah,
it?
they didn't really say. They said, "Hey, follow us, and this is where we're going." I'm like,
Nice.
"Okay," you know.
Dude, that's
And
right.
it was a cool spot in Providence. And actually, now that used to be underneath what connected I-95 to 95, and that bridge is now gone. So it's
Oh,
like,
dang.
even if you drive by, it's like I was there, you know, and I was
Oh,
underneath
dude.
underneath the bridge and stuff. So
That's cool.
and
Is
it's
that
like,
when you got the sticker? Did they put the sticker
What's
on
that?
for the photo shoot? They put the sticker on for the
They
photo
put
shoot?
that on. Yeah, they put that on. And then the one that's actually on there now is from the second shoot that my friend Josh Garcia did
Nice.
and whatnot. And when they did the shoot, he didn't have any of the stickers, and they said, "Oh, we'll get one." And he was all excited. So it's been on. It stayed on there. And that was when it got shot the second time. It was with the VR. But I'll leave it on there. You know.
When you got the second shoot, how did that all work out? Did Josh just kind of hit him up, take some pictures when the VR was done, and then, you know, was it kind of like you getting like Josh getting hold of PBW and be like, "Hey, we want to shoot this car again"? He just swapped the VR into it. You know, how did that work out?
Yeah. I think it was more so I was at work one day and I bagged the car, and
Nice.
a couple friends and John went over and they were finishing the car up. I'm like, I'm at work. They're like, "We'll just go over and mess with it." I said, "All right." And then I think John moved the car outside, took a picture, posted it online, and somebody said, "I think we need to shoot this car." And then Josh was like, "Well, I can do it if you want." He's friends with me and everything
Yeah.
like that. And it kind of just got set up like that, and I told him, "Okay, when and where." We decided to actually do it at the garage where I work at the dealership. So
Nice.
it's actually done in the shop where I am and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool and everything like that.
Yeah, that's
And
rad. That's perfect lighting conditions too. You can kind of control everything. It's all nice. And
yeah, I never
clean.
thought there was that many cameras. Should say lighting and stuff like that. Josh is like showing up like, "What the heck is all this stuff? This is crazy, man." I thought we're just taking some pictures, you know.
That's awesome. So the air ride when you bagged it, What year was that?
That was again probably like 2008,
Eight.
9.
So
Probably no, I'm sorry, probably like 2009 or 10,
9 or 10. So was
right
it
around there.
was it like the airlift? Was it airlift stuff? What would you do for the air ride?
I did it first. Oh geez, I did the first V2.
Okay.
When the V2 first came
Yep.
out, I had one of those. I
Hmm.
put it in, and it just didn't settle right with the car. So I think I just went to like switch speed. It's
Okay.
been that long, I don't remember anymore. But and then and then I think it was back for about 4 years or so, and then I said, again, not for me. Mark IIs, I just like them. I put on coils and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And plus, I figured looking at all the wiring too, I'm like, this has more wiring than the whole car pretty much has, right now. So I just said, let's simplify it and just go back to coilovers. And everybody might say it. I run VMAXs. I've had like,
Nice, dude. I haven't heard VMAX. I haven't heard that name in a while, dude. That's awesome.
and it's a big joke. We'll talk to my friends and stuff like that. And even one of my friends that has a Mark IV, I'm like, hey, when you go to coils, he goes, I know VMAX. It's like the thing and whatnot. And they ride good, but it's like any coilover you get, you throw half the stuff out. You don't use the bump stops, the
Right.
helpers, you get rid of all, you don't need it.
Well,
stuff
my
like that.
my argument is why buy expensive coilovers and then just do that? You know what I
Right,
mean? Why
exactly.
get a set of V1s, V2s, or V3s if you're just gonna pull them all apart just to run it insanely low? You
Right,
know?
yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't track the car, I don't drive it. So I
Hmm.
mean, this is perfect for around town. Even hit some bumps, it's not bad. It doesn't bounce around or anything. It's pretty solid. But
Dude, that's awesome, man. I'm glad that thing has VMAXs on it.
yeah,
I haven't heard VMAX. That was like the dawn of the cheap coilovers. Before the
it was.
Racelands, you had
Hmm.
you had JOM, right?
Yeah,
Remember that? You had
yeah.
JOM, you had VMAX, and you had one other one. Or is
Oh,
it
jeez.
YTech?
You're going back.
No, those are. You had one other budget coilover at that time before the Racelands, before like you can just go get it like the Amazon or eBay
Right.
coils or whatever they are now. They're all the same, just a different color.
Right. Yeah. And I loved them. I had them in there. I was like, this is the best bang for the buck. And then when I decided to go back to coils, I'm like, well, eBay and VMAXs. And now I'm like, wow, they even get adjustable dampeners. Wow, they really stepped up the game. I'm like, and it's still like $400. I'm like, this is the best bang for the buck. And I swear by them.
VMAX, dude, that is so sick. I
Yeah.
like that Mark II even more now. Let's talk. Let's talk about the RSs, dude.
Well, I got RM. They're RMs. Sorry.
Oh, my bad. RMs. Dude, that's my bad. I meant RMs. Were those the ones that came? Did they come on the Mark II?
Nope, the car actually came with teardrops, and the funny thing with getting the RMs were they're actually brand new in the box.
Wow.
And this was back in the day, and you could do Black Forest Industry was selling RMs new in the box. I said, new in the box? How the hell are they getting those? So
Yeah,
I said,
dude.
wait a minute, let me check the part number. I look at the part number, I go to parts, I'm like, it's still available, new.
It's still a Volkswagen part number, right?
I
Because they
said,
came on the
yeah, that's
GTIs.
yeah. So I said, they're still available? I said, oh, geez. I said, order me a set. And I call, and next thing I know, another guy that used to work with me goes, order me 2 sets. And next thing you know, got 16 RMs, brand new in the box with shooting up. And my parts manager's like, because I was working in the service at the time, he goes, what are we doing with that? I'm like, well, he wants a set, he wants a set, he wants a set, I want a set. And it turned
RMs
into
for
that.
everybody.
RMs, and I think at that point we're getting Corrado Steelies too. So it's like we
Nice.
had Corrado
Oh,
Steelies and
yeah.
RM rooting inside there at the time. So it was like, and then finally they just ran out. I'm like, oh well, that was fun while it lasted.
Dude.
And I bought the RMs and I had them on that black Mark II VR6 that I built.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy I sold it to, I said, you're not getting the wheels. I said, they're brand new. I bought them new. I'm going to keep them. I'll sell you the car. I'll buy you brand new Corrado Steelies with center caps, the lug covers, and I'll put these tires on them that are new. Okay, fair enough. So I had those, and then I just kept them stock. I had speed lines on this at one point. I had
Nice.
colored speed lines.
Yes.
And I said one day, I said, you know what, I'm going to go 15. So I split the wheels, put a set of lips on it, and then just put them on, and that's kind of how it stayed. It worked.
What lips are you running? Are they a square set all the way around?
Yeah, they're 2.5s all the way around. And the funny thing is, again, when we talk about, VMAXs, I don't know, I found cheap on eBay, again, they're like the cheap ones that were just shipped in, they came in like a box with hay in it, like, sometimes I don't mind spending the money on certain things, but other things I'm like, okay, they look good, they're round, they balance out, they stay polished, so and they don't look terrible. So for me, I appreciate all the guys going out there and they're like, oh, I got the real BBS lips and stuff, and I spent all the gazillions of dollars on it. I'm like, that's cool, but man, I really hate to
I
bang one
hit
up.
that one pothole, dude, and you're
Right,
screwed.
and ruin your, day or two,
Yeah.
So,
Those
but yeah,
things are
that should
sick.
do it all.
They fit, dude. They fit super good. Are you running like spacers or anything at all?
I think I have like, it's sad to say, I think I got like a 10 millimeter in the rear. I can't even remember. I haven't had the rear wheels off this thing in a while. Which is not bad. I just can't turn the key and go.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I'm liking this car even more that we talk about it. Did you make it to? Are you making it to any shows this year with that thing?
Hopefully gonna do Wolfscar.
Okay.
Hopefully, whatever's going on with that. That's like a four hours from here and stuff like that. We'll see.
Nice.
We'll see what goes on, and hopefully get a sitter for the weekend, and we can go up and get away for a couple days and stuff like
Rad.
that.
Are you gonna drive that thing? All
Yeah,
out,
yeah, I'll drive. We drove it. I only went like 4 or 5 years ago. We drove it up there, and it was, it was great. And everybody was kind of amazed because I never really drove the car. I would either tow it or just go in something else.
Man,
And
dude.
I'd usually get beat up a little bit for it and stuff like that from a couple friends. And then I said, you know what? Screw it. The car should make it. And I said, if not, I'm gonna get AAA. We'll tow it or fix it somewhere.
How
But, I know.
you said the car is resprayed. I want to say back when you did the bay, right? The first time you did
Yeah.
it. Has it been
Yeah, the first time.
has it been resprayed or painted anything since?
I haven't really had to touch much. A couple little spots.
Dude,
Here and there. The bay's gotten painted maybe like 2 or 3 times between it going from the 118 to the VR. I figured while the motor was out, clean a couple more things up, fix a couple little things here and there and whatnot. But no, I mean, luckily, then the paint's held up great. Luckily it's
Yes.
painted. It's been garage, so
Mm-hmm.
so that's been excellent. I've always been fortunate to have a garage, in the winter and stuff like that. And even when it came home from the body shop, the first time it was just a bare shell, and my mom looked at it and she goes, "Holy cow!" and put it back together. And I didn't think it was going to be able to stay in the garage, and she let me keep her garage spot at the house until I moved out, a couple of years later. And I'm like, "Hi, Mom, this is perfect, thanks."
Dude, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that thing looks immaculate, dude. Still. That's crazy. Do you have any like mods or any changes or anything that you're planning for it, or you're just gonna kind of
The only
keep
thing
it
I kind
as
of want to do is one of those like CAE race
Yes.
shifters. They look cool, put it in there and whatnot. But I mean, again, everything now I'm looking to do to the car, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Every year I would always buy like one new thing for the car for myself around my birthday and stuff like that. So
We need
one
like
year
a-
I got pop outs. I bought the Digifizz another
Those are
year.
sick.
I redid the RMs again, and I'm like, all right. But I mean, it's kind of the car I wanted, and whatnot. So for me, it's like I don't really want to change too much. I even thought about doing a new set of wheels, but I was like, I like them.
Those
you know?
RMs are perfect, man.
Yeah,
They-
and it'll be one of those things they'll just go in the basement and collect dust until I put them either back on the car, or something like that down the line if I ever changed them.
Yeah, no, those RMs they look perfect with the center caps too. The fitment is like dead on. They're essentially a OEM stock wheel that came on the Mark II GTI, so you really can't beat that for a wheel
Right,
choice.
exactly.
It just
And I've always liked the cars just the way they were, so I was like, you know what? I'm not trying to really change the world with them for me, so I just want them to stay, classy and stuff like that. Pretty stock on the outside. There's a couple things, it's got a CL rear glass, so it doesn't have the GTI wing. It doesn't have the antenna on the roof and stuff. But other than that, it's pretty much stock, for the most part.
dude, that hatch blend is sick too.
Yeah.
That
I
thing
think my wife got that for me a couple of years ago too.
Dude.
So
What an awesome wife.
I know. Oh, she's great with that. I mean, she was definitely one of those ones that she's all about it and everything like that. And she loves driving the coupes. It's not like one of those things the guy builds the car for the girl and she's like, what the hell, I want this. But that's what she wanted. She always talked about it, wanted to get a coupe and stuff. So when
Dude,
the
that's-
time came, she said, guess what, honey, got a coupe.
That's awesome, man. I'm just gonna buy my wife an old Volkswagen and make her drive it. I'm like, hey, I
And
got
the
this
best thing is
for
now you
you.
got more. Now you have more for yourself. You can just say,
Exactly.
hey, all
I
this cool
bought
stuff.
this for you.
Yeah. Well, and the attic in here, and it was one of those things like, oh, all that stuff that's up there. Yeah, I had to go get this for your car, or yeah, then we need more dashboards. Like I think there's like 3 dashboards up there, and it's like one day I'll replace yours.
Dude,
and then
you
we'll
got
have
it.
one.
Yeah, you gotta hoard the stuff now, man. Because this stuff's going bye-bye. You just can't find
it
things
is.
anymore, dude.
I have a friend that I've known for quite a few years. Grover is his nickname and stuff like that. He's been around 100 years. He's old Mark 1, mostly Mark 2 guy and stuff. And going over there when I was like 21 and stuff like that, you go into his attic and it was like a gold mine. And if he had half the stuff he had, then now, it was like, dude, what'd you do? And stuff. And we talk about it, we kid about it all the time. And like 3 years ago, we found this guy up north. He was getting rid of everything. So we went up there, and it was a guy I had met once or twice, and my friend Grove had known. And we went up there, and we went to the guy's basement. It was like a Walmart. It was just rows of parts, rows. And we spent like 5 hours in this guy's basement.
Whoa.
And we filled up the bed of my truck. We came home with hoods, doors, fenders, bumpers, radiators, exhaust systems. And I'm like,
what?
And then I remember it was like the first haul we went up, because we went up like 4 times. The first haul was like $300 for both of us. And I'm like,
what?
We left with those. I mean, I don't remember those Yarrow alternator tensioner pulleys for an ABA. 12 of them, brand new in the package.
Jesus.
And I'm like, okay, we'll take these. And I came home and I remember I'm unloading the truck, and my wife's looking out the window and goes, what the hell is all that? I said, she goes, how much did you spend? It was also the question. I'm like, you're never going to believe how much. And I'm like, $150. She's like, oh, okay. It's like, I got GTI was that you can't get over here. I got hoods, hatches. And I'm like, we're going back up too.
That's crazy, dude.
And then even buying some of the stuff, my friend's looking at it, he goes, you know what's weird? I'm like, what? He goes, some of this stuff I'm buying, I sold to him. So it's like, I'm buying my old stuff back at like 10 cents on the dollar, he was saying. He's like, I sold this for like $40 and I'm getting this back, in the big pile of stuff I got for 150. Dude. So he's like, I guess that worked out well for me.
That's crazy. Yeah. Forget about crypto, dude. You just gotta buy all the Mark 1 and Mark 2 stuff. Well, Bitcoin, what's that? I gotta bond wrap all the things.
You get yourself some Mark 2 parts. And just sit on it for a few years.
That's crazy. What's going on with the interior?
It's just a set of Recaros, nothing fancy. Red stripe dash, it's a non-sunroof car, and so I had the dome light shaved and rewrapped, the headliner and the pillars just in black suede, clean and classy. And the guy who I got the car off of said, I got the headliner done like 12, 13 years ago, and I'm like, oh, cool. So I went to this place that I know about that used to do them, and I'm telling the guy, I'm like, yeah, I got it done. Like, he goes, this headliner is done pretty good. I'm like, yeah. He goes, about 12 years ago. He goes, well, they usually last 10. I'm like, yeah. The funny thing is, you're the one who did it 12 years ago. He goes, oh, really? Like, so yeah, you set yourself up pretty good right there. So you can do it again.
Dude, that's awesome.
So
man,
it was just time. The headliner was starting to get a little weird, so that was one of the last things inside. And I said, well, that's gonna get changed. But yeah, other than that, pretty much stock.
Dude, it's just like an immaculate Mark II, man. And like, I always, like, me being a person who, like, I don't keep cars very long. I have a bad habit of like wanting things and then like always changing my mind. So when I hear stories like yours, I'm just like absolutely amazed that, like, dude, this is your first car and it's been through, so much with you that you've had it. It's insane. And you almost build, like, I'm almost kind of jealous when I hear these stories, because like you have like this attachment to that you would never, you're like, why would you sell it or get rid of it? You know what I mean?
Right. And like you said, for like people that I have friends that, most of my friends, all pretty much Volkswagen people, so we all get it. And some of us have had our cars for a long time. Some of my friends that aren't in the cars are like, I don't get what the big deal is. I'm like, you won't.
Yeah, you either know or you don't.
Yeah. Right, and they're like, you'll never. I'm like, never leave. The car. The only way that car will leave is if, God forbid, if it gets in an accident or garage burns down. That's really the only reason why it should leave.
Yeah.
And even with that, I'd probably leave it in the backyard all wrecked. As one of those, things. The trees. 50 years from now, somebody finds it. What's this thing with a tree growing through it? But hope never gets to that point.
Old man Chris's Mark II. I got a story about this thing. Let me tell you about it.
Sitting in the field with a bird sitting on the roof.
Dude, that's crazy. Do you have any other projects that you're gonna get into outside of the Mark II?
No, I mean.
Well, you've got the Cutlass.
Yeah, I got that. That's pretty much
dude.
finished up and stuff like that, and that's just something stupid, It's just something fun to go hang out and have fun and not really care, I mean, it's terrible paint, but it's all there and it's not wanted. should go pretty good when we go up to the track. Hopefully,
That
we'll see
thing
what
looks
happens.
like a beast, dude.
Yeah, yeah. That's another thing. It looks like an eyesore in the driveway. It's great. People look at that and they're like, "What are you got that for?" And I'm like, "Well, trying something." He goes, "I see all the Volkswagens, but what's this Volksmobile for?" I didn't go back. I'm like, "Oh yeah." It was cheap at the time.
It was a trade-in, dude. I did a guy a favor.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of those things. I was looking to do an LS. I'm looking for something. I'm like, you know what? An old Jeep body would be cool. They're cheap. A guy at work and I, we hopped in the truck one day with a trailer, drove to Connecticut, and bought off a Jesus. And let me tell you, that was kind of a scary place we went to because we definitely did not fit in when we went to go buy this. And I'm like, are we safe? Load this thing up and get out of here.
Let's go, let's go.
And,
Yeah, you don't want to show up anywhere sketchy with a wad of cash to buy something.
yeah, and I'm like, if I would get robbed, it's like, hey, all I have is my driver's license and this $1,000. That's it, man.
I went with a buddy and I think we were buying a set of wheels or something, and we were in like a sketchy situation, and he goes to like, pull his money out in the open. I'm like, what are you doing? Go count it in the car. Bring it out and just
Get ready.
Yeah, dude. What are you doing, man? You ever done this before? So sketchy.
Yeah, I've never really had any of those. Luckily, tried to usually find the right people and say, all right, yeah, let's meet up or whatnot. But yeah, that was probably the only time I was kind of like, oh, let's look into the windows next door at us. They're probably looking at us going, who are they?
Oh, dude, man, that Mark II is just, it's a thing of beauty, dude. And it's just it's done, right?
Yeah, I think what you see is what you get. If anything, it'll be touch-ups here and there.
Well, you got a ton of extra parts. You could throw like a quad grill on it, and you can change little things.
I had a quad round, and it's up there. I have that sitting there. I have a complete Westie setup that was on my wife's car. It's all together, nice mint, new lights, and I just put it up there, and I was like, well.
Ooh, what about a rally front end?
No, you know what? That's one thing I never either had the funds for or whatnot. I feel like for me, a rally setup needs to just be on a rally.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my things. I love them on all the cars I see them on, but for me, it's like, if I had one, I'd want the car to go with it. For me.
Yeah.
That I think even said people even ask like, oh, if anything happened to this, what would you buy or whatnot? Because it's insured pretty decent, because just over the time, I said I'd probably want to buy a rally, but I want like a bone stock. Here it is, hold on to it and whatnot, and that's probably, if anything happened to this, the money from this would go towards buying one of those.
Dude, you and me both, man. That is like an absolute dream car of mine.
Yeah.
It's just, oh man. Yeah, and they're pretty penny.
They got skyrocketed in the last few years. When I started looking at them, because I even contemplated maybe I can scrounge up some some money and get one. Yeah. And I was like, it's not going to happen.
Talk
and
about.
I remember the first time I even saw one was at Waterfest. I think in my first year. I think NGP had one.
Mm-hmm. I remember that one.
They were raffling off, I think.
I remember that one.
And I'm like, wow. I've only heard of them and seen pictures of them. Now
Dude,
I'm looking at a rally.
I've been into the scene for 20 years now, and I've only seen one golf rally in person, and it was just like 2 years ago.
Oh, no kidding, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, mine was that time, and I think I'd seen, it was starting H2O. Going to H2O, saw a few here and there, and now it's like a couple of years ago, Mark II Mayday. They had the first year Mark II Mayday, which was would have been 3 years ago. Yeah, it was 3 years ago. They had one there, and it was red. Had some like red, like bronze E30s on it or something like that. And I'm like, that's perfect. I only took one picture that whole day when I was there, and that was the only car I took.
Dude, that's so funny. The last car show I went to was, I think it's called Pacific Waterlands. It's out here in Portland, where I'm at in Oregon. I'm on the West Coast. And all day, walked around. There was some cool stuff there. I took one picture, and it was of the golf rally, and it wasn't even in the show. Some dude showed up into it and just parked it in the parking lot outside.
Like, what are you doing? You should be in there.
It's so funny, man. We were like, I forgot what we were doing. Me and a buddy there, we were like walking around. We're like, oh, this is cool. Let's go grab some food. So we go out, and we're like walking toward where the parking lot area, and we see this like crowd of people like around this car. And we're like, what's going on over there? So we kind of walk over there, and it's a golf rally. Like,
you're like, well, okay, what's up?
This is the dopest car here, and it's not even in the show.
Right? And everybody's
You could tell it was like freshly imported, It had like all the stickers and stuff on it, and
Oh, really?
yeah, dude, it was
Oh,
sick.
nice.
I think it was like bone stock, untouched,
And
white.
that's how I like them. You know, like something like that. That's a piece of history for it and everything. So I
Dude.
don't think I'd change anything on it. I'd like it as stock as possible if I were to ever get one. And
Hmm.
yeah, and then like the year later we went to the Mark II May Day again, and there was like 5 of them there, and it's like,
Dang.
where the heck do all these things come from? It's like a year later, and it's like they're everywhere, which is cool to see. I love seeing them.
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably easier to import them now because I
Yeah.
talking to Aaron Staley. He's got one with the freaking FSI swap in it, but he had like this crazy story about trying to import it from when he did. And so, yeah, that was kind of like the stuff that I would hear back in those days. And you just get like this whole nightmare scenario trying to bring these cars over. But I think it's a lot easier nowadays, especially with the 25-year mark or whatever. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like you
not
said,
any cheaper though.
yeah, yeah, no, there's nothing cheaper now, especially nowadays. Everything is
Yeah,
skyrocketing.
dude. That's crazy, man. That would be a dream car of mine. So I want to play a game with you. Aaron Staley kind of started this, and I want to continue it with you. I'm going to ask you a couple questions here. It's more of a game. I'm just going to take what he did in the podcast, so I think it's fun. So, current or past Volkswagen trends? What are you glad doesn't exist anymore, or just what trends in general are you not a fan of?
In cars, or just like we'll say Mark IIs, or just something you used.
Whatever. Like
Ah,
for instance, he said like Bowser hoods on like Mark II or Mark threes and Mark fours.
okay, yeah, I guess I can go on to it. But you know what? When you see one, you can kind of go, oh yeah. So I can always look at something like you said, the trends, and say, oh yeah, okay. But I don't think I can say I absolutely hate any of it. Maybe like the excessive camber, really.
Mm. Okay.
That's really it.
Hmm.
I don't. I get the idea and point, but it's just, eh. You know.
I always
No,
so I should disclaimer this. Like I was talking to a buddy about this too. It's like generally speaking, there's things that I don't like, but there's always an example where someone does it and it just works. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it could be something that I absolutely generally wouldn't like excessive camber, and then you would see like some car that just pulls it off, and you're just like,
yeah,
okay, that's awesome.
that works.
So
Right. So I always try to look at the good in stuff with something. So it's like,
yeah.
ah, man, you hate that, but it's like, and then you're thinking in your head, well, why? Why do I hate this? But I should like it, I think. And then you're like, I do like it a little bit. Like, if you asked me probably like 2 years ago, it'd be obviously all the wacky body kits. But then
Mm,
it's like, oh, wow, this
yeah.
is actually
Dude,
cool.
that's a great point. All the ABT stuff, all like the Rieger, I always forgot how to say that. Like just all
Yeah,
those gnarly kits from like back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Back then I used to think it was like ugly.
yeah,
But now those are all super cool.
yeah. And it was even like people that had like the RS bumpers that they would put
Hmm.
on. And it's
On
like,
everything. Like
and
Mark
then,
II are they had
yeah,
those bumpers for every car.
yeah, oh, I love it. And then it's like, and then it's like, oh man, I kind of miss seeing those. Those are cool.
Yeah.
It's like everything comes around, it comes back. It seems like it comes back even stronger than before.
That's so
Something you hate
funny.
10 years ago, and you're like, oh, it's ugly. And then it's like, it comes back, and you're like, why did I hate that again? It looks cool.
Yeah. Am I supposed to not like this still? Because
Yeah.
are there any Mark II specific trends from back in the day or current?
No, I mean,
Usually Mark II guys were on their shit. I gotta say that. Usually Mark II guys were on their shit. There weren't a lot of like dudes messing Mark IIs up. Can't
no,
really say
nothing like
that.
gaudy. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
say. Maybe like the only thing was those taillights. They had like the weird circle.
Oh, like those Alzetta?
Yeah,
Is that what the like? Yeah, they came off of like the IS Toyotas
yeah, it just
or
looked kind of.
Lexuses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just weird taillights. But no, even like, back then you wouldn't think like an all white taillight would be cool or a
Mm.
blue taillight. Now you're like, oh, that works.
Yeah.
Now you see it, you're like, that works. That fits
Hundred
that.
percent.
You know,
100%. It's gotta flow with the theme of a car though. You can't just take like a beater. Well, see
Right.
again, you there's always an exception. Someone's gonna take a beater and throw green hella taillights on it. It's just gonna look sick.
And it's gonna work. Maybe the only thing that I had that I had on my car that I could say that I wanted in the worst way, but then afterwards I got them. I said these gonna suck with a Mark III handles, door
Oh,
handle.
okay.
They just didn't work. I messed with them. It messed with them. Why do I have these again? This is just I gotta pull it and put the old ones back on. you know. And even the ones on mine, they look chrome. They're like the plastic TM tuning ones that you could get back in the day. I was like, I'm not gonna buy Porsche ones for the price. That's gonna kill me. So keep these clean. You know, I keep them clean. You know, plastic Windex stuff. You know, clean them up new, you know. They work. They lock. They unlock. They do the job. So
Dude, that's all that matters, man.
yeah.
I love that, man. I love hearing the story of that Mark II. I love that you have like those little, you know, those little details like the VMAXs and stuff. Like you don't have to go and spend all the top dollars to make a super dope car.
Yeah, and I mean that's one thing I looked at. It's like I knew where I was like, all right, I need to spend the money here. This is what I'm gonna. Okay, I'm buying this. This is gonna be a couple bucks, but I want that. You know?
Yeah.
Like, but I also want this. Okay, well, I can cheap out on this. I know this will be fine if I cheap out on it. Only the real guys might give me a hard time with it, but even at whatever, we'll laugh about it. You know? And that's even around here. The guys around here, nobody has anything bad to say. Everybody's helping anybody. You know, how many times have I gone to somebody's house that they've said, "Hey, here, have this." Like, well, what do you want for? We'll figure something out.
Pay it forward.
And it's like, all right, and then they're over. I'm like, "Hey, here, have this."
Yeah.
Well, I didn't. Here, you know, it might come back to me in 10 years, or it might go to somebody else.
I love that so much about our scene and our culture, and like I was just I had a couple of friends. They just picked up their first Volkswagen. It's I think it was an '88 Cabriolet. And I had a handful of, you know, Mark 1, Mark 2 stuff. So like a set of wheels and some other stuff, and I was just stoked they got a Volkswagen. And they're like, "Well, what do you want?" I had some like Enki meshes that were just sitting around, and I had like a Bentley, like a spare Bentley, because of course it's CIS, so it's got vacuum leaks everywhere. And so I'm just like giving them all this stuff, and they're like, "Whoa, like, what do you like? How much do you?" I'm like, "No, dude, take it." And they're like, "What do you take it?" I'm like, "I'm so excited that you guys got a Volkswagen. I want you to have all this stuff, you know?"
Yeah.
It'll come back around.
Are they looking at that going, "Oh, this might be a mistake. Why am I getting all these extra parts in a book?" No.
I think I made that joke. I was like, you're going to need this.
Yeah, eventually you're gonna need one. Definitely, that's the grail for these things. You need to have one of those.
Oh, dude, that's hilarious. But dude, I love that, man. I love that, and I've always felt that, like, you know, within our community, it's always been like that, you know. And I think that's
Even like you said, like Mark 1, 2, 3, even Mark 4 guys. You need something, and I got it. I need something. You know, we'll figure it out. We'll help.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's hard to put a price on. You know, like I said, when I got all that stuff from my came home in the truck one day, I'd probably have given like half of it away to friends, and I'm like, I know what I have invested in, and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's like that guy hooked me up with this. I'm gonna give him this. Is his worth more than mine? I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know.
For me, it's like. For me, it's like I'd rather see it on your car and at a Cars and Coffee and at a meet than sitting on a shelf in my garage or whatever. Because I just stack like everybody else, dude, and especially me, because I go through cars like pairs of shoes. But I'll get into a project, I'll buy a bunch of stuff to it, and then I'll sell that car before I get anything on the car. And then I just got all this Mark II shit that I don't even own a Mark II, or you know what I mean? So it's just like, no, dude, take this, take that. Yeah, I'd rather see it on your car being used. I'd rather see it, you know, you've got a Volkswagen now, so we can add +1 to the family. So, you know, more VWs at the car meets. That's always a good thing.
Right, exactly. And I mean, there's some stuff that I won't get rid of. You know, there's like some stuff that it's like, all right, unless it's a dire need, like I need this. It's like, all right, we can make it happen. Yeah, I can see that it's real. You know, it's a real problem. Let's do it. You know, and even at that, it's like, well, what do you got then? You know, try to make a little bit of a trade, but generally, no, here, do what you need to. I know you're in, you know, a pinch for something, and it was a funny story. You know, you like to know about the stories, but so when I got this '92 GTI, it was an 8-valve back in the day, and the big joke from my friend was, it had the skinny door moldings, the GTI ones, because it was a newer one. Hey, I want an extra set of those. He goes, no, I'm not getting rid of them, because they're on the car. So he calls me one day, he goes, hey, haha, I'll make you a deal. Buy to get the mold, you gotta buy the car. I'm like, all right, how much for the car? And he goes, wait, really? I'm like, yeah, what do you want for the car? He goes, we'll figure something out, and I ended up buying the car. The joke was I bought the car to get the moldings. And I sold the car with the moldings on it that I wanted, you know? So it's like,
that's awesome. And dude, I think we're all liking that aspect, because I've done that before. I had a Mark 1 Audi TT, and I bought another one just to take the interior out of it. It
So,
didn't make it any more. It didn't make it any more valuable. I didn't get any more money for it when I sold it, but it was like, I need an interior.
yeah,
So
yeah. Sometimes it's fun. It's just fun to go out there, and especially if you know, like, if somebody calls me with a Mark II and has a problem or wants something done, it's like relaxing for me. They're like, well, that's a lot of work. I'm like, yeah, but for me, man, it's not. It's like
yeah.
I got all my stuff done at the house. Everything's good. I'm good. Let's do this. Like when the guy Joe that we just finished up the Mark II with the crossflow in it, he was like, he's never really done. He understands it, but I don't think he, is that, technical and can just jump in and do it. I said, hey,
Right.
we're gonna go get a car. We get a car. I said, we're gonna pull the car apart, the parts car. Yep. I said, might as well do a time belt and all this other stuff while it's here. I'm like, he goes, oh, let's do a cam. I'm like, awesome. Now I'm like, yeah, let's do this. So he ends up ordering a Tectonics cam. I said, get the chip with it too. So, I ended up bringing the
Do you go
harness
with the
down.
street? Did you go with the street cam?
I think it was the 268.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to change any valve springs. It was just, put it in safe and everything like that. So I said, yeah, we stripped the cabrio it came from. I said, all right, I'm going to work on the harness. I need a couple nights with the harness. Went down my basement, just, took out what I needed, blah, 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 did everything, taped it up nice. I had it, so I said, listen, you're going to drive the car over on Friday and Sunday it's leaving, not even. So
Sick.
he goes, all right, he dropped it off like a Wednesday night. I said, we'll stop Friday after work. He goes, all right. I had the whole swap ready to go. All we had to do is off his swap is just take the transmission and swap it over and back in the car it went.
Dang.
And, it was like Friday night. He works with me as one of the service advisors, and he worked until 6. I said, I'm going to get out early. I got out at like 3. I said, hey, man, I'm going to go start hammering down. He showed up like 6:30. The engine and training were already in.
Dang.
John Steele's with me. He was working on the harness and stuff like that. And then he goes, no, the engine's not in. I said, no, man. I said, I could die tomorrow. I want it done today, So like we finished up like 8:30 that night. It was pretty close to firing up,
Wow.
And I said, tomorrow morning we'll get it done. We'll get it going. And he showed up like 10:30 the next day, but I already tried to get it running. I'm like, I can't find the startup signal. Why can't I look? I'm like, shit, we don't have the seat in there, and the seat belt's not clipped in, so it's not gonna crank. So the seat's sitting in the driveway. I just click it in and work. I'm like, oh, there we go. My car starts, And then he showed up, and I'm like, hey, it runs. He goes, what? I'm like, yeah.
Dude,
Sorry.
that's awesome. I wish I lived closer to you.
You're always more than welcome to come over here. It's pretty cool sometimes on the East Coast.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That is so awesome. And that's one thing that, I think really sets our community apart is that we're just a community of givers, man. We want to make sure that, we're perpetuating that mindfulness of just the old way, as Johnny Cook called it.
Yeah, and the best thing is, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. You could be wherever, and somebody will lend a hand, especially now with everything online.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm looking for this. Boom, you get people saying, hey, I got this, And when you look at a price, you're like, really? That's it? Oh, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Even Vortex. I mean, Vortex was great back in the day. Like, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come home at night and stuff. Go on Vortex, and you always, especially the Mark I, Mark II stuff and everything. It was always new stuff happening. It was always cool stuff. People getting along. It was none of this crap that you see nowadays with people arguing over the stupidest thing.
I know, dude. The stupidest thing.
Like, guys, we're all into the same thing. We're regardless if we like everybody's style and still like cars. Essentially it comes down to that.
No, for sure.
I
like
always
that.
good too.
I like it. I would agree with that, man. And it's great. Like, it's so awesome because, like, starting this podcast and doing it and just, like, talking to people like you, like, it's so crazy how it's, like, how like-minded everyone that I'm talking to, you know what I mean? It's like, man, this is the first time we've talked, but I feel like we've known each other. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's like,
it's pretty simple to talk back and forth to each other.
It's crazy. It's like, man, this is, dude. And that's kind of why I started the podcast to begin with, You gotta flesh all these stories out instead of just seeing them all on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, that's all I have. So,
No email. I'm like, hey, send me your email.
I have one, but then when I was thinking, like, if I get home.
You gotta have a work email.
I do, but it's the password saved on it. So I don't know what the password is. I just log in and hit enter. I'm like, even people are like, what's your email? Like, I have my email, but if I'm not at work, I don't look at it.
That's hilarious. Dude, I meant to ask you, have you ever taken like a phone call from someone who's been like, yeah, hey, I got a Mark II GTI. I'm trying to track down these parts. And you ever get like stoked on those calls?
Yeah, it happens every once in a while. Every once in a while you get that and people will be like, I'm looking for this. You might, or they'll say, oh, I'm doing this though. Like I had a kid that calls up and he goes, oh, I have an '03 GTI 180. I need this, blah, blah, blah. But it's not an '03 GTI. It's in a Mark II. I'm like, oh, okay.
I got this, bro.
And I think the kid was talking to me on the phone was kind of like, yeah, he's not going to know. And I'm like, dude, you're like 16. This thing was a 118.
You're like, so where you are with the swap, dude? You get the motor in yet? What's going on?
I think it was like, I was 19 when I did the first VR. Well, I'm sorry, when I did the 118. And it's like, you're like 16, man. Trust me. I've been there. You know, we can help you out if you need it. And it's like, people are like, wow, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, come on by. You know, what do you need help with? I can point you in the right direction. And you know what? People think, you know, oh, the dealer, you know, being at the dealer, oh, it's going to be more money, or they're not going to know. When people come in, they're like, wow, it's totally different seeing coming in there. Because the guys in my parts department, you know, there's 4 of us. We have a pretty good, you know, crew. They've been there long enough, you know, that they can say, oh, yep, or they don't know. They don't blow smoke up there.
You're passionate about the brand. I think that's what set those dealerships apart. Is you're actually passionate about the brand. You walk into some dealerships and they don't care. They could be selling Fords, Dodges, like Subarus, like you know what I mean. But like those dealerships that you walk into, and you can tell have like an actual passion for the brand. You can really feel that, and you can tell.
Right. Yeah. And it seems like a lot of the small places are starting to, you know, go away from it and everything. We're trying not to, obviously. You know, we're doing well and everything. But you know, it's like you hear about some of the places, like these big places around us, and it's like we get more wholesale, you know, body shops going. Like I called up there looking for simple stuff, and they can't even do it. I'm like, we'll take care of it. Yeah. You know, and I get a lot of customers from it, and it's great. You know, and that's one thing I do have to say that I try my best. And even all the guys, it's like my body shops and the wholesalers and stuff like that, and definitely, you know, mine, you know, even just regular retail people, but the wholesale people, you know, we're selling some, you know, sometimes quite a few thousands of dollars at a whack. You know, you want to make sure you get them the right parts, the right time. I mean, things happen, but you know, try to get them everything as fast as possible. And the only thing slowing us down right now is after all this COVID stuff is
dude.
That's the only thing I'm having problems with.
I was going to ask you, I feel like everything's on back order. Like everything.
Yeah, you know.
I do. I cut all the vinyl stickers for all the feature cars that I feature on the FYEAH Volkswagen's Instagram page. And the vinyl that I use a particular vinyl in a particular color. And it was on back order for like 2 months. I was like, what is going on, man? Like, everything's on back order.
or you're buying $90 pieces of plywood right now.
Dude, right? Me and my son were going to build a mini ramp, a skateboard mini ramp in my backyard this spring. And the whole wood apocalypse hit. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen.
Sorry, we're going to figure something else out because...
Make it out of concrete or... Start collecting pallets.
Right, yeah, we'll figure something out. But man, you're not buying plywood right now,
dude. It's crazy.
Or anything like that, yeah.
I know, man. It's just, well, we'll get past it.
It's
It'll get better. Yeah, I love the fact too that I'm seeing like this last weekend was a gnarly weekend. You had the Alpine Volks Fair. You had Dubs at the Lake. We had I always forget the name of the drive here in Oregon, but like all these shows are coming back and everyone's like excited, and I'm seeing like, you know, show features and posts from car shows, and it's like, man, it's been a while, but you know, it's awesome. All this stuff's starting to come back.
Yeah, and you're seeing some of the cars, and it's like, wow, good. Maybe it needed like a year or two for these people that have been building them to finish them, because I'm seeing some of the stuff. I'm like, awesome. You know, I've been seeing cars getting finished up, and it's like, oh man, I really hope it gets finished up. Oh well, we had a year break. Well,
the COVID builds. Yeah,
you know, and that's what when John got his car last year, it was before all the COVID stuff, and then it hit, and it's like, well, you know, let's just keep going. And over here, we had a show that he wanted to have it done for the New England Dust Off. He wanted to have it done, and we worked, and it was like between myself, him, and a couple other friends and stuff would go up there and work with them and everything like that. But you know, John was on doing a lot. You know, I mean, he was kind of fresh to the Mark II thing for the most part, but it's like. It was great, you know, you call you up and say, hey, I got this done. I'm like, cool, I'll be up Friday night, we'll crush some beers and get some work done and everything like that. And then he called me one day, he goes, hey, it's running, and it's like, oh, cool. Like you could just tell the excitement, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And he always wanted the Mark II, and then this came up, and it was...
I can tell by talking to him, he loves that car, dude. I can tell by talking to him. It's such a sick Mark II build, too. I love how he did that. I mean, I love all the stuff John does, but that's an awesome Mark II.
And it's simple. It's perfect. It's how it needs to be. It's not over the top. You know, even at first, I remember when he wanted to do like what the taillights he did with them and everything. I'm like, all right. And again, like the style.
It
and
works.
goes,
Yeah.
it doesn't look out of place. It doesn't look weird,
Mm-hmm.
And whatnot. And I'm like, wow. I said, John, this is all perfect. It works. Taillights match the headlights, the side markers. I said, it's all just in with the blue.
Yeah, with that paint. That made it
looks
all work. It just all blends together. So there's always that example.
Yeah. I mean, his is a perfect. He drives that thing too.
Mm-hmm.
When he's not shy. He's not shy.
I liked his whole idea behind it too, like how he didn't use any of the swap kits. He's like, man, if anything breaks, this is all OEM stuff I can still get.
Yeah, exactly. And that all happened because he had a four-door Golf that we had found that actually belonged to my shop foreman. And I was like, hey man, I know you're looking for one. Why don't you take a look? It was a killer deal. It had the small bumpers already on it, the Euro small bumpers, the Westie had the VR swap on it. I said, just those were pretty much what he was buying. And he was
Right.
like, the body is a little more that I want to mess with. So then he just searched for something online, found this car. We went to Connecticut, picked it up a couple hours one night, and that's just how it happened. It was great.
Awesome, man. And it turned into an awesome Mark II. You guys are killing the Mark II scene, dude. You guys are killing it. Well, Chris, I want to thank you so much for doing the podcast. It really means a lot to me. It was great to talk to you. I love hearing all these stories. We'll do it again. We'll catch up. Is there anyone you want to thank? Is there anyone you want to shout out?
Well, yeah, I mean, tons of people. I mean, everybody, obviously, wife's great for letting me do everything.
Thanks,
Kids
wifey.
are good. They like doing some of this stuff too. They're still little. Obviously, my family for getting me into this. Obviously, I think I had no choice though. I kind of was like, well, this is, I wasn't going to be driving a Honda,
At least your family didn't own a Saab dealership.
Yeah, I know. Imagine that. All the 9.3s I probably have though, right? For some reason. But yeah, no, all the friends that have been around, I got, I'm sure you've heard of Fuzzy. Everybody knows Fuzzy, he's been around. I've known him forever. My friend Matt, and whatnot. I know I'm missing a ton of people, but,
Well, thanks all the homies. Chris says thanks. And thank you again for doing the podcast. Great stories, man. We'll catch up and we'll do this thing again. But thank you. I really appreciate it. Chris.
Thanks for having me on it. I've never done it before, so I think it went all right.
It went great.